So here's a wild thought for you. Could a video game actually help redesign your city? And I don't mean just for fun, I mean for real. It definitely sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie, but today we're going to explore how digital pixels are literally laying the foundation for physical property. We're talking about how computer code is starting to own and manage real-world things. Okay, so let's just dive right in. What you're looking at here, this is not just a game. On the left, you see a real park in Lima, Peru. And on the right, that's its digital twin, built block by block inside of Minecraft. And this isn't just some fan art project. This is a blueprint. It's part of a global initiative where digital design directly shapes physical reality. And that brings us perfectly into our first section, where we're going to explore this really surprising connection between the digital world of code and the physical world of concrete. So what's the force behind this bridge between worlds? It's an initiative called Block by Block. Now, this is a pretty unlikely, but it turns out really powerful partnership between Mojang, the creators of Minecraft, and the United Nations. Their goal is to use the game as a tool to get young people involved in urban planning, letting them redesign their own neighborhoods. And what's so cool about this is you can see it right here in action. Instead of needing to learn some super complex architectural software, kids are using a tool they already know and love to build models of the parks and public spaces they actually want to see. This just completely bridges that huge gap between community ideas and the official designs that get built. But this whole thing raises a much bigger question, right? I mean, it's one thing to design a park in a game. It's something else entirely for that digital idea to become a legal and financial reality. How can a piece of code, an organization that only exists online, how can it actually own and manage property in the real world? Well, to answer that, we've got to look at the legal and technical foundation that makes this whole thing possible. And that's the blueprint we're going to explore in this next section. So the key idea here is something called a decentralized autonomous organization, or a DAO for short. The easiest way to think about it is like a digital co-op. It's an organization that runs entirely on rules written in computer code. Everything it does is transparent, it's controlled by its members instead of a CEO, and it all operates automatically on the blockchain. Now, to make this idea a little less abstract, let's look at a real-world example, the Red Door Digital DAO. This is an actual real estate project in Detroit that isn't owned by a traditional company. Nope, it's managed and governed entirely by a DAO. So how in the world does a digital entity sign a lease or open a bank account? It uses what's called a legal wrapper. The Red Door DAO first set itself up as a special kind of LLC in Wyoming, a state that actually recognizes blockchain-based organizations. Then it filed for a certificate of authority to operate physically in Michigan. This little two-step process gives the digital code actual, real-world legal standing. Okay, the next critical piece of this puzzle is something called a Ricardian contract. You can think of this as the magic translator. It's a single document that is both a human-readable legal contract that lawyers can understand and a set of instructions that a computer can execute. This is what connects the dots, legally binding the code's actions to the real-world agreement. It's what makes the DAO's decisions totally enforceable in a court of law. And this quote just illustrates the point perfectly. The blockchain in this system isn't just for cryptocurrency anymore. It's now serving as the official, unchangeable, and completely transparent filing cabinet for the entire organization's rules, its agreements, and all of its transactions. Okay, so we've got the legal structure down, but now let's follow the money, because this is where it gets really interesting. Let's see how a DAO manages real-world finances completely automatically. In the Red Door DAO, you've basically got two key players. You have a human asset manager, BG Lionstar, who handles all the physical day-to-day stuff, paying the utility bills, fixing leaks. But the ultimate authority? That's the code. The smart contract is the final judge of where all the money goes. It has the last word, and its rules simply cannot be overruled by a human. And this all happens through a process they call the revenue sweep. So here's how it works. First, all the real-world rent money gets collected in a normal bank account. The code is always watching this account. The moment the balance goes above a $10,000 reserve, a trigger goes off. That excess profit is automatically converted from US dollars into digital assets and sent straight to the DAO's smart contract on the blockchain. And here is the really mind-blowing part. The instant that profit hits the smart contract, it is immediately and automatically split according to the rules that are hard-coded into it. In this case, 52% goes to one group of token holders. You can think of them as digital shareholders, and 48% goes to another. There are no board meetings, no waiting on approvals, no chance for human error. The code just does it. It happens. Now, this whole model isn't just for urban real estate in Detroit. These same ideas are now being applied to one of our oldest and most fundamental industries, agriculture. So, meet the agricultural DAO. The goal here is to create a farming ecosystem that is radically transparent and sustainable. It uses cheap little IoT sensors to gather real-time data on everything from soil moisture to temperature. All of that data gets logged on the blockchain, creating a verifiable record that can actually prove sustainability claims. The community of farmers and other stakeholders can then use this trusted data to vote on proposals and decide how to use money for the good of the whole group.
And here's a quick look at how a community like that is built right from day one. This table shows how the ownership, which is in the form of tokens, gets distributed. You see a huge chunk goes directly to the community and to a treasury to fund projects. This makes sure that everyone's incentives are aligned around the long-term health of the whole ecosystem.
So, you see, whether it's giving young people a real voice in redesigning their neighborhoods with block by block, or making our food supply chain way more transparent and democratic, these new kinds of digital organizations are building a really powerful bridge between code and actual real-world impact. So, after all of that, what's the big takeaway here? Why does this shift from traditional companies to these kinds of digital co-ops, why does it actually matter? Well, the most important thing to remember is that this is way more than just a fancy new technology. It's really a fundamental shift in how we think about ownership and how we organize ourselves. It's creating new ways for communities to own things together. It provides radically transparent governance, and it creates a system where trust is basically automated. It's built right into the code itself. And all of this leaves us with a pretty fascinating final thought. If a piece of code can legally own a building, manage its finances, and distribute all its profits, and if it can help make a farm more sustainable, what else is possible? What else can communities build and own and manage together? What do you think is next?